Robin and welcome to ST Global News. From the enshrinement of the relics of the first millennial saint in Seoul in preparation for the 2027 World Youth Day to the moving story of faith, hope, forgiveness and devotion shown by Erica Kirk, wife of the assassinated Christian patriot Charlie Kirk, we have many stories to cover. South Korean Catholics have enshrined the relics of newly canonized Saint Carlo Acutis in Seoul just days after Pope Leo XIV declared him a saint. At a mass attended by clergy and youth preparing for World Youth Day 2027, church leaders urged young people to follow Acutis' devotion to the Eucharist and live lives centered on holiness.
The relics of St. Carlo Acutis were enshrined in Seoul on September 17, days after Pope Leo XIV canonized the Italian teenager at the Vatican, according to sgnews. Clergy, youth and volunteers attended the liturgy in the chapel of the World Youth Day 2027 local organizing committee in Seoul. Auxiliary Bishop Job Yobi Koo of Seoul presided over the Mass. He urged the young Catholics to seek true happiness in God rather than in wealth or success. He reminded them of St. Carlo's teaching with the words, "True happiness comes from God, not self. The Eucharist makes us saints." Church sources noted that Bishop Koo encouraged youth to attend daily Mass and live faithfully with the gifts God has given them. He emphasized that true sanctity comes from embracing one's unique path with God, not imitation. Sources also stated that the church-run Catholic Peace Broadcasting Corporation and Peace newspaper named St. Carlo Acutis as the second patron saint on September the 16th. They blessed a new statue at their headquarters. St. Carlo, often called the influencer of God, gained recognition for documenting Eucharistic miracles online. He died of leukemia in 2006 at the age of 15 and became the first millennial saint on September the 7th.
President Donald Trump, who headlined Charlie Kirk's memorial service in Arizona, delivered a fiery eulogy that hailed Kirk as an American hero and martyr for freedom, while criticizing the radical left. President Trump also assured that his administration will crack down on far-left outfits and will classify it as domestic terror group. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also joined other conservative figures in speaking at the event, vowing to advance Kirk's legacy of mobilizing young conservatives against woke campus culture. In a heartfelt tribute to the slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk, US President Donald Trump hailed him as a great American hero and a martyr. Trump, who was the headline speaker before a packed crowd at the State Farm Stadium near Phoenix on Sunday, praised Kirk as a missionary with a noble spirit and a great personality and labeled him a martyr for America's freedom. He also emphasized Kirk's political acumen, describing him as one of the important driving forces who propelled his 2024 election victory by mobilizing the youth vote. The crowd erupted in applause when the president recalled Kirk's will to fight until his last breath, drawing on his near-death experience when he was shot during a campaign in 2024. During the speech, Trump made a striking admission. Unlike Kirk, he could not wish his political opponents well. He claimed that political motivations were behind Kirk's death and stated that the bullet was aimed at all of us, suggesting that the assassination was intended as a message to all conservatives. Trump also launched a scathing attack on Tyler Robinson, calling him a cold-blooded monster and assuring the audience that Robinson would receive the full and ultimate punishment for his crime. In the epilogue, Trump lambasted left-wing fanatics who would be offended by the use of an incorrect pronoun, but remained gleeful at the brutal killing of Kirk. Sudan's 2 million-strong Christian population faces a precarious future amid a brutal civil war between military leaders, with 15 million people displaced, according to the Open Doors watchdog. Christians have also been told to renounce Jesus or starve in a harsh Islamist repression campaign. Alongside the violence, they are enduring exceptional hardship in the ongoing hunger crisis, as local communities frequently discriminate against them and withhold support.
Christians in Sudan are being forced to choose between renouncing their faith or facing starvation as a campaign of violent Islamist repression intensifies. The country's 2 million strong Christian population faces an increasingly dire situation amid the ongoing civil war between military leaders General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. The brutal conflict between Burhan's Sudanese armed forces and Dagalo's rapid support forces have devastated the nation. According to Christian persecution watchdog Open Doors, approximately 150,000 Christians have been killed and over 15 million people have been displaced from their homes since the fighting began. The report stated that neither side is sympathetic to Christians. The conflict has created more opportunities for Islamist extremists to target them. These Christians are facing severe hardship amid the hunger crisis as local communities often discriminate against them and refuse to offer support. According to a source, much of the church in Sudan, which could have helped with aid distribution, is now in hiding. A church leader in the northeastern African nation told Fox News about the grim reality, stating that even if the NGOs try to distribute food, the government controls who receives it. He added, in many areas, the government withholds food from minority groups. Christians are frequently told unless they renounce their faith, they will not receive any food. A senior Sudanese religious leader identified the city of El Fasher as the epicenter of Christian suffering in the country. For a long time, residents have been forced to eat animal feed and grass due to lack of basic food supplies like wheat and rice. He added, quote, unfortunately, there is no medicine available. Something as simple as a flu can be fatal, end quote. The leader concluded by saying that they are constantly praying for the God's mercy on them. The Rapid Support Forces are considered the more brutal faction towards Christians, having previously vowed to eliminate worshippers through forced conversions to Islam or execution. Sudanese refugees have reported that RSF fighters deliberately target those fleeing the devastation in El Fasher, frequently abducting individuals for ransom. If ransom demands are not met, RSF soldiers have been known to torture, rape, and murder their captives. Meanwhile, Christians living under the control of the opposing Sudanese armed forces are also believed to endure severe persecution.
A young Catholic priest in Nigeria, Reverend Father Matthew Aya of the Diocese of Nsukka, was shot dead by gunmen while returning from Enugu. His vehicle was ambushed and riddled with bullets before the attackers killed him at close range. The church and state authorities have condemned the brutal murder. A young Catholic priest in Nigeria was shot dead on Friday, September 19th, while returning to his parish. Reverend Father Matthew Aya, parish priest of St. Charles Catholic Church in the Diocese of Nsukka, was on his way back from Enugu, the state capital, when he was ambushed by armed gunmen on motorbikes. Eyewitnesses who requested anonymity said the attackers repeatedly shot at the tires of Father Aya's ash-colored Toyota Camry, forcing it to stop before firing multiple rounds at the priest at close range. While many suspect the attack was the work of kidnappers, others fear it was an assassination. Police officers arriving at the scene found the vehicle riddled with bullets, vandalized, and thoroughly searched. The Chancellor of the Catholic Diocese of Nsukka, Father Kajetan Idobi, announced the priest's death. In a statement, he wrote, quote, shocked to the marrow, it is with crushing pain and sorrow, yet with total submission to the will of Almighty God and firm hope in the resurrection of the dead, that I inform you of the tragic death of yet another brother of ours, Reverend Father Matthew Aya, end quote. The Enugu state government also condemned the attack, calling it a dastardly act. Dr. Malaki Agbo, the state's Commissioner for Information and Communication, said, quote, the state government commiserates with the immediate family of the late priest, the Catholic Diocese of Nsukka, and indeed the Catholic faithful in general over this tragic incident, end quote. Nigeria is regarded as one of the most dangerous countries in the world for Christians. According to Open Doors International, Nigeria ranks 7th on the World Watch list. Once confined mainly to the Muslim-majority northern states, anti-Christian violence is now spread into the Middle Belt and further south. A report released in August 2025 by the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law estimated that over 7,087 Christians were killed in Nigeria in the first 220 days of this year alone. The Vatican has revived the canonization cause of Venerable Cardinal Francis Xavier Nguyen Van Thuan, a Vietnamese prelate who endured 13 years in prison, 9 of them in solitary confinement. Known for smuggling out spiritual reflections that inspired Catholics worldwide, his writings were later compiled into the book The Road of Hope. The Dicastery for the Causes of Saints is now urging the faithful to pray for a miracle to advance his path to sainthood.
With the launch of a new webpage and an appeal to the laity to pray fervently for an approved miracle, the Vatican has revitalized the beatification cause of Venerable Francis Xavier Nguyen Van Thuan. The Cardinal is remembered for his spiritual messages smuggled out during his long imprisonment in communist Vietnam. Elizabeth Nguyen, his youngest sister and last living sibling, told Catholic news agency that the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints is encouraging the faithful to renew their efforts toward advancing his canonization. Cardinal Francis Xavier Nguyen Van Thuan was born in central Vietnam in 1928, the second of 9 children. From a young age, his mother instilled in him the stories of the Bible and the memory of their ancestors who had given their lives for the faith during the persecutions from 1698 to 1885. At the age of 13, he entered the minor seminary, and on June 11, 1953, he was ordained a priest. In 1967, he was consecrated Bishop of the Diocese of Nha Trang, choosing the episcopal motto Gaudium et Spes. He led the diocese for 8 years, during which its pastoral life flourished. Although nominated coadjutor Archbishop of Saigon in 1975, communist authorities arrested Bishop Van Thuan and detained him in a re-education camp for 13 years, 9 of those in solitary confinement. During this time, he wrote his spiritual testament, smuggled out for Vietnamese faithful and the diaspora to read. These writings were later compiled into the book The Road of Hope, now published worldwide. He also fashioned a tiny Bible from scraps of paper and a small crucifix from wooden wire during his imprisonment. Even after his release in 1988, Bishop Van Thuan was placed under house arrest, and in 1991 he was exiled from his homeland. In 2001, Pope John Paul II created him cardinal. Soon after, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer and passed away on September 16, 2002. His beatification process began on the 5th anniversary of his death, bringing reported joy to Pope Benedict XVI. He was declared venerable in 2017. On the 50th anniversary of his first imprisonment, the Church is once again urging the faithful to seek his intercession so that God may grant a miracle to advance his cause for sainthood.
New Hampshire police arrested 23-year-old Hunter Nadu after he opened fire at a wedding, killing 1 person and injuring several others just before the couple's first dance. Authorities confirmed Nadu has been charged with second-degree murder, with more charges expected as investigations continue into the chaotic attack. Witnesses said Nadu shouted "Free Palestine" during the shooting, though the police are yet to determine the motive.
On Monday, New Hampshire police announced the arrest of gunman who opened fire at the wedding shortly before the couple's first dance in a briefing led by Attorney General John Formella and attended by arresting officers. Nashua Police Chief Joshua Rook reported that 23-year-old Hunter Nadu killed 1 person and injured 2 others when he began shooting at wedding guests. Nadu has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder in connection with the death of a 59-year-old Robert Stephen Formella added that further charges are expected as the investigation progresses. At least 6 additional individuals were hospitalized with injuries sustained while seeking cover and fleeing the venue. Authorities have not yet determined whether the incident was targeted or random, as the motive remains unclear. Witness Tom Bartleson of Pepperell, Massachusetts, described the event at his nephew's wedding as chaotic. He recalled that the shooting occurred just as the couple prepared for their first dance and reported hearing the assailants say, "The children are safe and free Palestine," while firing. Although the motive has not been confirmed, several social media accounts have alleged that Nadu was influenced by far-left Antifa ideology, citing his frequent sharing of Free Palestine posts on his Platform X account.
The Philippine authorities have evacuated thousands as Super Typhoon Ragasa, packing winds of up to 250 km per hour, heads toward northern Luzon and the remote Babuyan Islands. Authorities warned of life-threatening storm surges, widespread flooding and landslides. The typhoon is expected to affect Taiwan, Hong Kong and southern China.
Super Typhoon Ragasa moved toward northern Luzon on Monday morning, prompting the Philippines to suspend work and schools across Metro Manila and large parts of the country, according to reports by Reuters. The Babuyan Islands were placed under the highest typhoon warning, with residents in low-lying and coastal areas urged to evacuate due to storm surges and flooding risks. The super typhoon carried maximum sustained winds of 205 km per hour and gusts up to 250 km per hour, with forecasts indicating landfall near the Babuyan Islands around midday. Forecasters warned of rough seas, widespread power outages and landslides as the outer bands of the typhoon lashed northern Luzon. Airlines cancelled more than a dozen flights and suspended ferry services at major ports. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration reportedly cautioned that the outer bands were already affecting the region. While Ragasa will not directly hit Taiwan, it will bring heavy rain to the island's east coast. Taiwan issued land and sea warnings and cancelled flights to eastern cities including Taitung and Hualien. The super typhoon is likely to strike Hong Kong as it moves towards southern China. Officials reportedly advised residents to prepare for one of the strongest typhoons in years, considering a possible 36-hour airport shutdown.
Grammy-winning Christian songwriter Brett James, better known for penning Carrie Underwood's hit Jesus Take the Wheel, lost his life in a plane crash in Northern Carolina. Authorities confirmed he was among 3 victims killed when a small private aircraft went down near Macon County Airport. James's death has shocked the country and the Christian music community worldwide.
Grammy-winning songwriter Brett James, known for Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel, passed away in a North Carolina plane crash at the age of 57, Christian News reported. Authorities said the 57-year-old was among the 3 people killed when a small private plane crashed near Macon County Airport in Franklin. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed that James owned the aircraft under his legal name, Brett Cornelius of Brentwood, Tennessee. The songwriter gained fame by co-writing Carrie Underwood's 2005 hit, Jesus Take the Wheel, which won a Grammy Award for Best Country Song and became a spiritual anthem. Over his career, he wrote more than 300 major label tracks. He was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2020 and named ASCAP's Country Songwriter of the Year twice. Church and music sources noted that the artist often integrated devotional themes into his writing. His early work included hymns such as What Child Is This and What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Industry leaders described his death as a devastating loss, remembering him as a songwriter whose faith and talent left a significant impact on both religious and country music. James, a graduate of Christian Heritage Academy in Oklahoma, remained widely respected for combining artistry with devotion.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denounced the UK, Canada and Australia for recognizing a Palestinian state, accusing them of rewarding Hamas after the 7/10 attacks. He vowed to resist international pressure, pledging to expand Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria while rejecting Palestinian sovereignty. The recognition move comes as France and Saudi Arabia prepare a global summit on a 2-state solution, signaling broader international momentum despite expected pushback from Israel and the US.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lambasted the UK, Canada and Australia's decision to recognize the sovereignty of a Palestinian state, accusing these countries of rewarding Hamas's terror in the aftermath of the dastardly 7/10 attacks. In a bold statement directed at the heads of state of these countries, Netanyahu reiterated that granting recognition to a Palestinian state will only further honor Hamas's atrocities, including the horrific 7/10 massacre, at an enormous price. Netanyahu also restated Israel's long-standing position of opposing a Palestinian state west of the Jordan River during the video message and added that Israel would fiercely respond to the decision taken by the major Anglosphere countries after his return from the United States. He emphasized that he had tirelessly resisted the creation of a terror state and withstood international pressure to accept Palestinian sovereignty by doubling the Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria. Netanyahu's remarks came a day after the UK, Canada, and Australia announced their recognition of Palestinian state. Meanwhile, France and Saudi Arabia are set to convene dozens of world leaders on Monday to rally support for a two-state solution, with several other nations expected to follow suit. The move is expected to draw harsh reactions from both Israel and the United States.
In a powerful expression of faith, Erica Kirk, widow of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, publicly forgave the man accused of assassinating her husband. At the memorial service held at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, she tearfully conveyed her forgiveness and delivered a heartfelt message of faith, forgiveness, and revival. Encouraging the audience to follow in Charlie's footsteps, she urged them to take meaningful steps in their spiritual journey, saying, "Let Charlie's life be your turning point as well."
Tens of thousands gathered at State Farm Stadium at Glendale, Arizona on Sunday to honor the life and legacy of slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The memorial service was held at 63,000-seat home of the Arizona Cardinals football team. The event drew a crowd of supporters, dignitaries, and public officials with tributes delivered by President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and other senior administration officials. In their remarks, President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and other leaders vowed that Kirk's mission would not only continue but grow stronger in the wake of his assassination. Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, took the stage during the service to thank those who came to celebrate her husband's life. She opened her remarks by recalling a moment from the 2023 Turning Point USA faith event where Charlie spoke about total surrender to God. She said, quote, 11 days ago, God accepted that total surrender from my husband and called him to his side. End quote. Charlie wanted to save young men like the one who took his life. In a powerful moment, Erica said she forgives the man accused of killing her husband, quoting Jesus, who forgave the man next to him on the cross.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
During an emotional tribute at her husband's memorial service, Erica spoke of faith, comfort, and forgiveness in the wake of Charlie's assassination. She shared that over the past 11 days, despite unimaginable pain, she found a deep sense of peace through the words of the Lord's Prayer. She said never before that she found as much as comfort as she does in the words of Lord's Prayer. Erica described a profound moment shortly after Charlie's death, recalling how she saw the faintest smile on his lips. She said that it revealed to her as a great mercy from God in this tragedy. When she saw that, it told her that Charlie didn't suffer. She reflected on her husband's final moments, noting that he died doing what he loved the most, engaging in debate and defending his beliefs on a college campus. Charlie was fighting for the gospel and truth in front of a big crowd, and now he is with the Savior in paradise, she added. She also expressed heartfelt gratitude to Second Lady Usha Vance for providing the support she needed during the time of loss.
Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business. But I will miss him. I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful. They still are.
In her heartfelt speech at the memorial service, she reflected on the powerful spiritual response that followed her husband's assassination. She said, quote, after Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence, rioting, or revolution. Instead, we saw what Charlie always prayed for, a revival. She shared moving examples of the spiritual awakening. Quote, we saw people open a Bible for the first time in decades. We saw people pray for the first time since they were children. We saw people attend church service believers for the first time in their entire lives. End quote. Erica emphasized the responsibility now placed on those who already walk in faith. She added, "It is the job of the believers to shepherd these people, to water the seeds of their faith and protect it and let it grow." She urged the audience to take practical steps in their spiritual lives. Pray again, read the Bible again, go to church next Sunday and the Sunday after that, and break free from the temptations and shackles of this world. Being a follower of Christ is not easy, she added, but Charlie knew that, and he carried the cross all the way to the end.
There was no keeping score between us. We were a team, working together for the same mission. I never wanted to be the one standing between Charlie and the task that God prepared for him, had set for him. And I knew Charlie would always do his best to help me with the same. My marriage with Charlie was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know it was the best thing that ever happened to him as well. He wanted everyone to experience that joy. And that's what's so beautiful about God's design for marriage, is that everyone can.
Concluding her emotional speech, Erica spoke of the enduring message of the gospel, urging love even in the face of hatred. She added, "The answer we have from the gospel is love. Love for our enemies. Love for those who persecute us." She stressed the continued importance of Turning Point USA, saying, "The organization is needed now more than ever to help guide young people away from the path of misery and sin."
His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory. Chapters will grow, thousands of new ones will be created. TPUSA Faith will add thousands of new pastors and congregations. And yes, campus events will continue, and we will continue to hold debates and dialogue.
Finally, she declared that Charlie's life was a turning point for this country. It is a miracle, and let that miracle of Charlie's life be your turning point as well.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.